What's up, everybody? Agent of Doubt here, and today I just wanted to point out something that I felt was very poignant. And it was in a comment on a Facebook post with a whole bunch of pictures from a comic book with Deadpool in it. Anyways, so in the comic, Deadpool is basically he takes this girl who was on top of his building on this like revenge spree against people who deserve it, right? And she gets a chance to smash a whole bunch of stuff, but then he realizes that he can't help her, so he takes her to the actual emergency room, and it ends well, the story, because it's basically saying, don't think that you can help people. Go get them like professional help. Take them to an emergency room if they're thinking about suicide. Right? Great story. Right? But then number one comment on it with like 500 reactions. I feel like they're missing the page where she doesn't have the insurance, so they tell her after 8 hours of waiting there are no beds available. Then they give her a list of quote unquote resources to call before discharging her back to the streets. The quote unquote resources are full, and she can't afford therapy. 3 weeks later, she gets a $5,000 ER bill. And yeah, that stung because I have, in the jobs that I've had in the past 5 years, I've seen similar circumstances. Um, Tonight in Denver, it's going to have the first snow of the year, and that's when a lot of people who are addicts on the streets who were sleeping under the stars and having a wonderful time during the summer, this is when they're going to start seeking treatment, quote unquote, because the cold makes them realize that they have a problem, that they're going to freeze to death out in the streets if they don't get into a treatment center. So treatment centers start getting backed up with a wait list of like 2, 3 months, and then emergency services like emergency rooms and detoxes and homeless shelters get slammed with people who are trying to avoid the cold. And so it's cyclical, but uh, sometime around May or June, you'll start to see openings in addiction treatment centers, right? And it's just, it, you know, it's based on the weather. And I've seen year after year people waiting, people who are actually genuinely seeking treatment and not just seeking shelter. I've seen people wait on wait lists for months, and people are dying. This kills people. And so, yeah, I know full well about handing someone a list of resources, containing every different treatment that they could possibly want for everything that, you know, every inpatient treatment, every intensive outpatient treatment. I could have it all listed, ready to go to hand to someone, and if they called down that entire list, every phone number, every one of them is booked beyond being able to take them. And it starts now, just at the end of fall, going into wintertime. It will be, uh, nobody has any beds available, period. Um, and that's just for, people who need a low cost or Medicaid resolution. There are places that will take insurance or self pay that will still have some beds open for sure. The Maseratis and the Lamborghinis of the treatment world. But for your average person, you know, this is untenable. Trying to seek treatment in the wintertime. And I haven't seen people lately with getting that thousands of dollar bill for being in the emergency room. But in one place that I used to work in particular, they did not take Kaiser insurance, and Kaiser would require that somebody, if they were in emergent circumstances, to go to their hospital rather than this other hospital. And yes, people were getting stuck with thousands of dollars in bills for being suicidal, or for being drunk, or on drugs, or having a mental breakdown. All of those things that could land you in the wrong hospital when you have the wrong insurance could get you an ED bill if the emergent circumstance of it isn't recognized by your insurance. I have even seen a woman consider whether or not she needed to go to the hospital to get a rape kit done because she was afraid that if she did, she would have to pay for an ambulance and an ED visit, and her insurance wouldn't cover it, and then she would basically be screwed twice. You know, imagine not being able to pay your rent because you're living month to month, and it's because you had a big chunk of money that left you at the same time as you were, victimized like that. That's horrible, you know. And I wanted to point out these things about our healthcare system because we do have some decisions to make coming up in the next election. And the field of candidates is winnowing down. And we're trying to decide, which candidates we want to put forth. And some of the candidates that are out there have plans for health care that would address these issues. All right. And, maybe this is something that has never happened to you or you couldn't imagine ever happening to you. But I can tell you that I have seen it on a daily basis. People looking for treatments and not being able to get into them, and people being stuck with huge medical bills because they had the wrong kind of insurance or no insurance, and they needed help.